Welcome to day 4 of the Obscure Star Wars Expanded Universe series, where every day for 10 straight days, I'm doing an obscure Expanded Universe Star Wars video. And today for day 4, I have a very interesting source book that's sort of pseudo-canonical, but also completely canon, but also secondary canon. It's an interesting story, so I can't wait to talk about Monsters and Aliens by George Lucas and Bob Carrau. It's certainly a nutty case, and this is one of my favorite wacky and obscure source books. Can't wait to peel back the pages. Let's do that. Monsters and Aliens from George Lucas was published in 1993, and it's not actually by George Lucas, it's actually by Bob Carrau, but the titling is most likely a marketing scheme. The book contains biographical information for many creatures that were seen in concept art for Lucasfilm Productions, so this could be stuff that was intended for non-Star Wars related properties or alien concepts for Star Wars that never made it past concept art stages. So there's a variety of art in here from various artists including John Bell, Ron Cobb, Frank Connor, Joe Johnston, Barbara Lacken, the great Ralph McQuarrie, Ken Ralston, Nilo Rodis Jamaro, and Richard Van der Wende. It was edited by Mark Greenberg. It was published by Abrams Books. And although the volume I have of it is in hardcover, it could also be found in softcover. It comes in at 64 pages. And as I'm about to showcase by flipping into the book, it included lots of odds and ends, little write-ups by Bob Carrau that are ascribing interesting, minute details to concept art. It's fascinating. Let's take a look. So now we take a look into Monsters and Aliens from George Lucas. Absolutely tremendous cover with Bob Carrau as the person who helped to do it with it being published from Abrams and written by Carrau with George Lucas's vision in mind, and got some great art in this little source book here. So we have some cool stuff in here, and let's take a look through it. I love the art to this series, to this source book. It's really fun. And we have a little foreword, and the official information on it from the continuity masters like Leland Chee was that it wasn't canonical, but then portions of it were published on Hyperspace, so it was like, well, some of it is canonical. So I'll point out some of those instances, but stuff like the early Death Dog, like it's not known if this is canonical, but Supernatural Encounters references some of this stuff in there. The Anatomy of Size Snoodles. You have this species, which was featured in Weston Games material. You have an article about aliens being kidnapped by humans, which is playfully referenced in Supernatural Encounters and throughout the rest of the expanding universe as well. There were some interesting references to this. You have the training routine of this big guy up here. You have the prospects for this guy as being a football player. So there's some intentionally tongue-in-cheek comedic stuff in here. You have a whole song, a whole tune with the Bith back there. You have this fun little picture here of these little aliens who were featured in the expanding universe, and a little letter by them. You have this SMAP and the recipe for how to cook one. It's such a big source book, so sorry that it's kind of hard to show off. You have this guy who's on the cover, and the Inca Pledge, which the Inca are indeed referenced in Supernatural Encounters. You have Affirmation for Amber Day 6 with this picture of a whipped. You have case number 27 with this interesting alien. Surely it could be EU compliant. You have a little diary with this chicken guy. And then this is very interesting, because this is a 100% canonical expanding universe short story called Musings of an Ithorian, set sometime around the Mos Eisley Cantina in episode 4. It features an Ithorian's musings, and it is completely canonical. because it was republished on Hyperspace, and it was confirmed by the people who put it up onto the Hyperspace fan club that Musings of an Ithorian was considered to be canon, and it was first published all the way back then here. So even if the rest of this book is non-canonical to Star Wars, this right here is an official Star Wars Expanding Universe short story that you can get in here. Then you have some other guys in here, some other dudes, some other art. And does some of this stuff fit in the EU? I'd say there's a good chance that it does. You, of course, have this guy, and the Revwians/Palawiks were featured several times within the EU, clearly drawing an inspiration from here, which lends credence to me that perhaps it is canonical. You have sightings by the Twang, which is quite comedic up here, but you've got art of a Goddle and a Duros and some other aliens. So do these aliens perhaps exist out there in the expanding universe? I'd say that they do. You have the Marauder of Endor, which is straight from the Ewoks movies. Wounded Marauder of Endor, known associate of Tarak. I like to think that's EU. Of course, it seems like it should fit. You have How the E-Corp Got Its Humpo, which is a really weird, wacky little story that you can pick up. I don't see why it wouldn't fit within the expanding universe. You have the Gule's Lament, which surely can fit within the EU. If Musings of an Ithorian does, surely that guy exists out there. You have this Thinker here with this species of guys. Maybe not canonical. It's kind of weird. But I kind of think you can pick and choose what you take into account here. You have the Screen of Lusanda, the Mokdor 15, the Cat Thurktthrak, the Anxi Ranxi Lanxi, and of course 26424 of Galloway Island. Surely these guys exist out in the EU somewhere. You know, they're aliens. It's a wide galaxy. We have this little bat guy. And this is a species that was featured in RPG material. So, is this just another art piece for that guy? Is this relevant to that species? Who's to say, right? So, a lot of this stuff feels like it can fit in the expanding universe to me. We have these 12 steps that are supposedly uttered by this fella here, the Advodsi. And then we have this final little sketch here with this little letter. So it's super fun stuff. I think it's great. It's fun stuff to read. If you can pause and go back and read some of this stuff, I'd recommend it. I think it's a really fun source book, and it can be picked up online for only a couple of bucks. But it's some obscure stuff here, and if none of it's canonical except for Musings of an Ithorian, that's still an expanding universe short story that you can pick up. I think it's kind of obscure. It's kind of escaped some people's notice, I think. So that's why I wanted to make a video about it. Not a lot of people talk about it, and then when I do see some discourse around it, people seem confused. Like, is this EU? Is it not EU? What is EU in here? Well, we know that Musings of an Ithorian is. There's other stuff in here that seems to be Star Wars EU compliant. Then there's some nonsensical aliens that, could they fit? I mean, it's a wide galaxy, you know? So it's a super fun little, odd little piece from the expanding universe, and I think it's fun. I'd recommend picking it up. It's a fun little read.